Celebrate the magic of 40 years of musical artistry when Tony Bennett performs to a capacity crowd at London's Prince Edward Theatre. It's an extraordinary performance. Tony Bennett Live. Watch.
Tonight at 7, here on Channel 2.
Every December, for more than 80 years, 400 voices come together for one special evening. A choral celebration that's become a holiday tradition. Christmas at St. Oars.
Sunday's broadcast schedule is brought to you in part by Rotland Homes and Rotland Townhomes, innovators in design and lasting value, your builder for life in the Twin Cities. Solidification Incorporated, providing soil stabilization and foundation leveling, serving builders, architects, and engineers. And by the members of Channel 2.
Hard to explain how few precious things seem to follow throughout all our lives. After all said and done, I was watching my son, sleeping there with my bear by his side. Hi, I'm Kenny Loggins, and you're watching Channel 2. So I tucked him in, kissed him, and as I was gone, I swear that old bear whispered, boy, well...
The following edition of Almanac was recorded earlier for rebroadcast at this time.
Almanac is a production of KTCA TV for the stations of Minnesota Public Television.
Oh, would you look at the time? It's Friday night at 7. You know what that means. Yep, it's time for Almanac. Hi, I'm J.G. Preston. Tonight we're doing something just a little different. Maybe my threads were your first clue. Almanac is 10 years old, and we're having a TV birthday party. Yeah, we don't have this band for nothing. It's a celebration of all that has been Almanac.
The best floor crew in television is holding a flashlight on me while I do this because all the lights went out.
The strange and wacky episode.
But the next time I'm in the United States, it would be my great desire to have a night on the town with Keith Millard.
The wild and wonderful discussions.
Hold on here. Isn't this tragic? Here we have 4 Republicans. We should be bashing Democrats. Let's not bash each other.
Haunting faces from the past.
Call with your comments. The number again is 642-1980.
That's right. Even me. We'll also reunite the first Almanac political panel and meet the winner of the coveted Most Loyal Almanac Viewer Award.
Yeah, we got a band, we got balloons. The Almanac staff, I think management even sprung for the food.
Unbelievable.
Shocking. You can't eat with us, but you can join us for all the rest. After all, you are why we're doing the show. So fire up the old VCR. This will be a keeper, we think. Stick around for 10 years of Almanac.
Almanac.
Provided in part by the law firm of Larkin, Hoffman, Daly, and Lindgren, solving problems and creating opportunities for businesses and individuals. The St. Paul Companies, providing insurance products and services throughout the world. Health Partners. The Health Partners' mission is to improve the health of its members and its community. NSP, the energy to make things better. Padilla Spear Beardsley, providing public relations and public affairs consulting services worldwide. And by Gabbard's Furniture and Design Studio of Edina. You'll find your home at Gabbard's.
Through its 10 years on the air, Almanac has come to hold a unique place in the Minnesota body politic. Maybe it's because it's become the place where Minnesotans can communally hash over the events of the week, however gruesome or maudlin they might have been. But what has made Almanac distinctive, or peculiar, maybe, is that from the start, it has been able to step away from the serious world of public affairs and laugh at itself and at the events of the world. You have to admit, laughter is nothing less than a survival skill in any state that is home to something called the Humphrey Institute.
Caludaman, so wonderbar. A vote for him will surely get you far. He's not afraid to take a stand. He's got the issues well in hand.
It's no revelation that the folks at Almanac don't shy away from semi-spontaneous, funny moments that seem to happen throughout the show. Let's be frank here, they milk them for all they're worth.
We always listen to our viewers.
But there was a particular place in Almanac set aside for fun.
Goodbye, Norman Green. And here I thought I knew you so well. I met you in the corridors, back when you had so much to sell.
The producers call it the Monologue. It comes at the beginning of the show, and they see it as a lighthearted way to tease subjects that might show up in a serious discussion later on in the program.
And as every Minnesotan knows, no one is better than Northwest at making life miserable for airline travelers.
It's the season for giving, and here in Minnesota, we really know how to give, at least to Northwest Airlines. Our generous loan to NWA has inspired an entire catalog of music, available to you for the first time through this exclusive television offer. Now, the album, All I Want for Christmas is $838 million, is not available in stores. Hear classics like Away in a Hangar, Joy to the Range, Here We Come A-Groveling, and We Three Kings of Northwest Orient are.
Yes, there are subjects that receive more than their fair share of satire and personalities.
This one, for example, is called Dracuperp, governor of a place called Rudivania. Notice the unnaturally brilliant hair color. Wind this guy up, and he runs and runs and runs some more.
Rumor is that the Almanac staff held a short yet somber candlelight vigil when Rudy Perpich was voted out of office.
Don't cry for me, Minnesota. The truth is I never liked you. You're just not ethnic. You're evelethnic. So keep my portrait. I'll keep my distance.
The Monologue is also a place to experiment with new approaches and new people. The way the producers see it, anything is bearable if it's short. But they will admit times when the monologues were particularly troubled.
Don't mess with my rainy day fun, everybody now.
But when it's at its best, the Monologue has been the perfect place for observations on the unfolding drama that is Minnesota public affairs. Episodes that must not pass without comment.
Last week, Jay Kudrowski stepped down as the state's head of finance. It was reported all around the state, but it turns out that no one did it better and with as much je ne sais quoi as the Hibbing Tribune. Jay Kudrowski, there it is, resigns as the head of France. Yes, the Hibbing newspaper, and it is a fine small daily up north, has uncovered the real story of Kudrowski's secret life as the French Prime Minister.
Last night I was looking up tilapia fish recipes for a dinner party I was throwing. I was kind of rushed. I get this phone call. The guy says, you know, you could be getting a better deal on your phone bill. Your phone company's not doing it for you. I say, I'm perfectly happy with my phone company. What are you trying to sell me? He says, join the Allen Welly Friends and Family Long Distance Plan.
Now, there are some very talented people doing good work at Channel 4, but your news? They don't actually do my news, and I think we can all be grateful for that. Here's what my news was today. I wrote it down just so I could tell you. Did a really fluffy load of towels today and folded them while they were still warm. Saved 30 cents on green peppers at the supermarket. My nephew Benjamin now says, "Uck," every time he sees a truck go by. I think a lot of us do. Now that's my news, which would be different from your news. Probably mine's more boring.
I've been out of town a lot this spring, so it came as a big surprise to me to find out that in my absence, a number of sexual harassment suits have been brought against Hooters, a bar restaurant out in Hugedale, by several former employees. That they're female goes without saying. Now, before I go any further, I want to explain about my shirt here so there's no misunderstanding. It's true the producers of Almanac made me wear this shirt, but they assured me it has no sexual connotations at all. None, okay? These are Earth, see? And this is like a "you are here" sign. It orients the viewer and it promotes geography education. They told me it's all part of a heightened awareness campaign here at the station. It fits right in with that current, "So what are you looking at?" ads that you've been seeing. Well, when they explained it to me that way, how could I say no? So, what are you looking at?
This week, the Vikings announced arrivals and departures, the Gophers put on pads for the first time, and high schoolers started their season. J.G. Preston says he really doesn't like football very much, so we think he's the perfect person to talk about it and other sports this week. J.G., welcome.
Good to be here tonight, Joe.
Hey, I ate some soap before we started.
Before you get all puffed up, though, with civic pride, you got to point out that the Minneapolis tap dance record, has been shattered several times. Oh, backing up on me.
In some of the clips tonight, you have probably noticed a middle-aged, bearded man sitting next to me. To many of you, he does not need an explanation, but I'm going to give him one anyway. Joe Summers. Joe Summers was the first host of Almanac. When the producers initially planned the program, they did it with Joe in mind. Joe Summers was the Ramsey County District Court judge, and unlike Judge Wapner, Joe was not retired. He was a real judge. He was also one of the most remarkable people I have ever met. Joe and I both came to television as amateurs. Neither one of us had ever read teleprompter or asked even a question of a guest until a fateful day in the summer of 1984.
It all started when Almanac producer Brendan Heenahan set up a home video camera in the corner of an office and had Joe and me come in and conduct mock interviews. In these and subsequent auditions, I was never quite sure what the producers saw in me. But I know what they saw in Joe. Even in his first auditions, he had a relaxed, familiar style of questioning that was refreshing.
Tell me, I've always been curious when I meet people who work for Rudy Perpich about one thing. How did you first meet him?
But the producers soon discovered that reading teleprompter was another matter.
Well, welcome to This Week in the News. Nuclear war, the deficit, unemployment, and crime took a back seat to theology this week in the presidential election campaign.
But everyone figured that over time he'd get the hang of it, and so ready or not, the show went on the air December 7th, 1984, and it was Joe who got the first word.
Good evening. I'm Joe Summers, and welcome to Almanac.
Well, we are glad to report that Joe did get better at reading teleprompter. He got better at everything. It was Joe's job to start each program with a monologue, and viewers quickly learned to appreciate his puckish sense of humor.
On the floral scene, the Como Conservatory has decided to cut down its 50-year-old Mexican fan palm. It seems that the palm tree, in a burst of enthusiasm, grew right through the conservatory roof. Conservatory officials claim there is no way to keep the tree trimmed, so out it goes. So no more fan palm. Sorry, palm fans.
His sense of humor spilled over into rehearsals as well. After all, it's not every day you see a judge do this.
Close-up. Hey, look at Jan, the close-up shot, see? It does look like a roll-on deodorant.
Joe had a remarkable ability to laugh, even when he was the one making the mistake.
Ann Close and Kip Lilly, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
There is the old saying that crime doesn't pay. But I think it's Jan's to read, isn't it? Why don't
It
you go
doesn't
ahead?
matter. That might still be true for the criminal, but it might no longer be true for the jailer.
But more than his humor, what I remember about Joe Summers is his remarkable intelligence. Witness this exchange with former President Jimmy Carter, who was an Almanac guest in April of 1985.
You know, one of the major points of the Camp David Accord was the establishment of some sort of self-governing authority in Judea and Samaria with Israeli, Egyptian, and Jordanian participation. Do you see any movement towards that?
No, one of the prime commitments that was made at Camp David by Menachem Begin and later ratified, in effect, by the Knesset, was to give the Palestinians autonomy. In fact, Prime Minister Begin said, not autonomy, full autonomy. And of course, no autonomy is getting given to them.
You think the Israelis meant it?
I think that many of the Israelis meant it and still believe that it ought to be done.
It was clear that Joe had come into his own and was having the time of his life. On June 13th, 1986, as he had done for 73 shows, Joe said goodbye at the end of the program and walked back to his seat. We didn't know it then, but it would be the last time viewers would ever see Joe. The following day, he suffered a heart attack. 1 month later came a second fatal attack. On the day of his funeral, Almanac honored Joe with a special program that featured the remembrances of some of his many friends. The producers decided to end the show that night with a special piece of tape recorded months earlier during a rehearsal. The clip showed Joe and me singing, something we love to do before each program. That's the way I like to remember Joe. So tonight, we're going to end this profile with that same music, our rendition of Winter Wonderland.
You'll say, are you married? We'll say, no, man. But you can do the job when you're in town. Later on, the fire has
see you on that one.
Sing by the fire to face unafraid. The plans that we made. Walking in a winter wonderland.
Joey and the guys are going to be here all weekend, so check them out. For the next few minutes, the producers want me to praise a famous table. This table. And it holds a special meaning to me. After all, it was here that I made my first appearance on Almanac as a replacement for sports commentator J.G. Preston. But before we get all teary-eyed, you might want to know that the Almanac table has not always been what it is now. In fact, it wasn't always a table. Early designs for this interview space actually looked like this, just a few days before the very first program. 3 chairs perched under a gigantic light that looked something like you'd put over a salad bar. Well, after looking at that tape, the producers quickly came up with a table. Let's spend a few minutes now looking at some of the memorable moments that have taken place right here. It all started when USA Today ran a story listing all the women running for statewide office in the country. And listed under Minnesota was incumbent state auditor Ann Carlson. Now, you couldn't expect the Almanac producers to ignore a thing like that, but they didn't stop at just mentioning it. They actually invited Carlson to come on the show and conduct an interview, straight-faced, as if he were a woman. And for some reason, Carlson agreed. And now that the governor has announced that he will not seek another term, it's probably safe to show what undoubtedly is the strangest series of exchanges in Almanac history.
I guess I need to start out with how difficult is it to raise money as a female, particularly when actually most people call you Arnie, I believe, instead of Ann. Is that not correct?
Yes. Raising money, frankly, no matter what sex I am, has been a problem.
There's something that's been concerning me, and that's your appearance. You know, your conscious decision to wear men's clothing, the Stooge-style Annie Hall look. Did you decide that on your own, or was that on the advice of a political advisor or something?
Well, frankly, my wife was very embarrassed, and she was very frightened, frankly, that I would take her wardrobe. So I decided to cross-dress and dress as a male. Have you noticed that? Thank you.
Mercifully, after a minute or two, everyone started giggling and the interview ended. Ms. Carlson is one of many people who have pulled up a chair and made themselves at home at our table. And it's always been a spot where, with the right guest, on a good night, memorable moments can happen. And here are some of our favorites.
But I got the
biggest thrill the other day. We were on an assignment over at the university, and we drove under the Washington Avenue Bridge, and up on the bridge there's a big banner that said, "Save Dave." Now, there's some demographic evidence there to the contrary to my age, isn't there?
But there is a move afoot, I think, in, you know, youth must be served, and maybe in television, local television news more than anything. Do you feel that's discriminatory?
Of course. But, I mean, they're the bosses. They can, they really do have a difficult time. They cannot say because of my age, because that's illegal.
Right.
And they can't cite the ratings because the
ratings are good.
The ratings are good, but I can't cite the ratings because for 30 years I've been bashing the ratings.
The theater for which Minneapolis is most famous, right or wrong, is the Guthrie Theater. They never produced any of your plays.
Not only have never produced any, but I've never heard anything from the Guthrie.
Why?
How can that be?
How can that be?
That I don't know. I wish someone could solve that problem for me. That I don't know. People, of course, ask me this all the time, and I mean, and I don't know what to answer to them. I got Pittsburgh Public Theater. They call me up. They want to do Fences. They want to do Joe Turner's Come and Gone. They want to close one season with one play and open it with the next. I think that's great. It's my hometown is where I was born and raised. I think that's great. And I would, of course, like to see the Guthrie or do one.
I think it's very, very important that people realize that our process is very open, extremely open. There are no closed meetings where any decisions are made.
Oh, Madam Speaker, you do that tax bill behind closed doors every year. That's a
Eric,
true tradition.
Eric, for many years now, we have not allowed the majority of the conference committee to even get together.
We're just going to disagree on this, I think.
Well,
do you think today that whites get it, that they understand the issues confronting blacks, African Americans in this community?
And Jan, I'm going to put you on the spot. I had the pleasure of you being my student one time.
True.
And I think that if people like yourself can do it, that there are a lot of people out there like you. I don't mean to pick on you per se, but I know a lot of people like you that are committed, and they're committed to bringing about equality and change. So I'm hopeful that the few that are preaching hatred are in the minority.
I think the way you choose to get the orchestra going, get the strings going, and the way they use the bow has a lot to do with it. Either you're someone who uses a sort of conservative amount of bow, or you're someone who uses a tremendous amount of the bow.
Now, what's the difference in the sound if I'm going and somebody goes like this or somebody goes like this? What's the difference in the sound?
Well, you look a lot more active when you do that latter gesture, and of course that's part of what generates physical kinetic energy on stage, which is something that is a fascinating subject. I don't often know what happens, but we're all highly sensitive human beings on that stage.
And whenever the governor is ready, along with the Commissioner Gustafson, who is a good man through IRB, I'll meet, and I'd like to open the plant in 1995.
And you think you could? You think you could open it? I mean, this isn't just a hope. I mean, you.
I don't like hope. You know, I'm 75, and I ain't got time much for hope, other than a few prayers once in a while.
You have claimed in your recent ads with the newspaper, fighting with the newspaper, that they could drive you out of town again. Come on now, no newspaper is going to drive Gino Paolucci out of town. You're a businessman. You'll make decisions about where to open or close plants based on business, right?
I know, but it sounds good, though.
All right, all right, all right.
Great to have you down.
We have a lot more show to come. A political panel that's going to review 10 years of political history and gobs of highlights. But first, we're going to take a break so your local PBS station can raise a little money. We'll be back in just a moment.
Thanks, Jan. I can still hear the party going on in the other studio. It sounds like they're having a great time tonight, doesn't it?
The music is going on, and a great celebration of...
And it is a big celebration.
Oh, sure.
I mean, Almanac, 10 years. It doesn't seem like it's been that long since
Not
it
only
started.
10 years, but it's the most watched, most popular, locally produced public affairs program in all of PBS, all over the country. That includes all the biggies, WB, GBH, and in Washington, D.C. and New York.
Wow.
They can't even beat it.
That's really something to be proud of. And as a member, you can be proud of it, too, because you're a part of Channel 2 when you become a member. And that's your opportunity right now to give us a call and become a member. Be a part of this exciting night with us. Be a part of Almanac. It's been on for 10 years, and maybe you've been a member for 10 years. And we want to thank you if you have been. And if not, join tonight and join for the next 10 years, whatever it is.
And
join us now.
You bet. And we have some great ways of saying thank you when you call 229-1500 and become a member. Join us at the $126 level, and this is what you will receive as our thank you gift. First of all, we have the Channel 2, Channel 17 mug, which is really, really spiffy, and if you don't drink coffee, it's great for tea. If you don't drink coffee or tea, take it to work with you and put your pencils in it and let everybody know how important public television is to you. But besides that, you also get a videotape, and that is, it's a compilation of all of the greatest hits of Almanac. It's all the musical pieces, all those great little, the Governor song, there's the Governor song, and there's the Spam rap, and all kinds of great songs. It's a 38-minute cassette. If you're really, really a fan of Almanac, you have got to have one of these in your library. That's at the $126 level. If you join us at the $66 level, then you can get the mug alone, just the mug by itself. That's at the $66 level. And again, it's really neat because you take it to work or you carry it around at work with your
know then what kind of a person you are, what you watch, and what you belong to.
Exactly. It's prestige, my dear, prestige all the way. Call right now, 229-1500. Here's Chuck with a little bit more.
Thanks, Ron. You know, on a daily basis, television bombards us with experiences, and most of them skim across our mind like a flat stone on water. But now, every now and then, you see something really powerful enough to alter your perception. So think about it. When was the last time you saw a program that kept you really glued to the set? Maybe Bill Moyer's World of Ideas, for example, or Nova's in-depth coverage of the search for Butch Cassidy's grave. Well, the point is, when you watch unforgettable television, don't forget where you saw it. And when this station asks for your support, don't forget to give it. Because these pledge drives really do more than just raise money. They continue production of unforgettable, attention-riveting television. So pick up the phone and please make a pledge tonight.
Gosh, I love live TV. 229-1500 is the number. Call right now and make a pledge of financial support. Join us at the $66 level or the $126 level, whatever is right for you. You know how much you depend on Almanac. I know that you set aside an evening, every Friday evening, you watch Almanac. Maybe you also watch it again on Sunday so that you make sure that you didn't miss anything, because there's so much great information, so much humor, so much good political satire, good political information coming from Almanac. Call us right now. When you do, use your Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover card. That makes it so much easier for us. It streamlines the whole process, and it also saves us a little bit of money. Now, you may be asking yourself, why do I want to save Channel 2 a little bit of money on their administrative costs? Because every penny that we save in administrative fees, in printing and mailing and all of that stuff and buying envelopes, every penny goes right back into great programming. Speaking of going back into great programming, we're going to go back into Studio B, and Jan Smaby standing by with some guests. Jan!
Hello, Ron, and thank you, thank you. I'm standing here, ladies and gentlemen, with Ruth Stanek, who once was the DFL political party chair. Now, Ruth Stanek, I remember when we invited you as DFL chair on Almanac. Did you come because you felt compelled, or you were just being nice to us?
Well, Jan, I really have to say that I came on because I was really, really young and I didn't know any better at the time. Actually, I thought it was a regular news show, and somebody told me something wrong, and there I was, and it marked many of first appearances.
It certainly did. And since then, you've been a regular as a political panelist. Seriously, how important is an almanac in Minnesota politics?
Oh, I think an almanac show is very important in Minnesota politics. In fact, I think it's a linchpin for a number of activities that happen around politics. People live and breathe for what happens on Friday night during Almanac, and I think it's so very important, and that's why public television and shows like Almanac make a real big difference in what happens today in the political arena.
Ruth, thank you so very, very much. Ruth, it's great fun to stand here with me tonight, but she's right. Any money you can give to public television, and particularly to Channel 2 tonight, will support the ongoing production of programs like Almanac. So please, do give. Ron, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Jan. I wish I could join you with all the fun, but I'm here having a great time asking people to call in and make a pledge of financial support. Do that right now. You know, we have some wonderful volunteers from Larkin Hoffman. They were one of the very first underwriters of Almanac. We have had a partnership with them and other corporations throughout the community. That's what public television is all about. It's a partnership. It's a team effort. We'll bring the programs with your financial support, the financial support of our good friends at Larkin Hoffman, as well as all of the great underwriters that we have. And we love them all, and we love our volunteers, we love our members, but we need for you to become a member right now.
Over the years, public television viewers have come to depend on the in-depth, reliable current affairs reporting they find on KTCA. I'm Robert McNeil. Every evening at 6 p.m., the McNeil-era News Hour brings you beyond the news, to the heart of the decisions and issues that concern you. As one of the major local production centers for the McNeil-era News Hour, KTCA strengthens its commitment to bringing you much more than the headline news. So I urge you to continue your support for KTCA and the McNeil-era News Hour.
Yeah, it's really.
And you can see all the way down the street.
KTCA to bring you quality, intelligent programs. And we strive daily to justify that trust. And we trust you, our viewer, to do your part to help us bring you those programs. Your support tells us that indeed this is the kind of viewing you want us to make available to you. It's a relationship that's worked well for over a third of a century. We trust that you agree. We really do need to hear from you. So call now and become a member of KTCA.
Great idea, Nancy. Call right now. 229-1500 is the number. If you're outside the immediate dialing area, please use that 800 number, 1-800-773-5822. Give us a call. Become a member of Channel 2 right now at the $66 level or the $126 level. You know, I was talking just a moment ago about partnerships, and if you've read anything or heard any speeches by Newt Gingrich lately, you'll know that we are on the verge of the precipice of losing one of our partners, and that is a possibility of losing our federal funds. Newt Gingrich wants to zero out the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. So what does that mean to you? That means that every partnership, every partner in that partnership becomes even more important. That means that your pledge right now is absolutely vital to this program. If you're already a member, call in and make an additional gift.
Wonderful gifts for you if you decide to join us here at the $126 level. You get Almanac's greatest musical hits. It'll be a hoot at parties. It's great on a Friday night or a Saturday night to sit home and watch over and over again. Not only do you get the videotape, you also get a beautiful, classy mug that you can take to work with you, sit on Sunday mornings and have your tea or hot beverage. Join me now, have a beverage. And that's at the $126 level. And at the $66 level, you get the mug, which is not a slouchy gift. I think it's a pretty classy looking mug, and I wouldn't mind having one myself if I joined at the $60 level, but I can't do that because I'm already a member. Not only a volunteer, I'm also a member. So we need you to give us a call right now and join. It sounds like the phones are picking up a bit, but we have lots of available operators for you to talk to right now, and they would love to talk to you. And in a bit, we're going to go back to the party at Almanac. But while we're at the party, feel free to give us a call anyway at 229-1500 or 1-800-773-KTCA. Give us a call anytime. Give us a call right now and join.
If you prefer, mail your pledge to KTCA, 172 East 4th Street, St. Paul 55101.
Thank you, boys. Myron Florin and the band, ladies and gentlemen. We've mentioned as many references to Lawrence Welk as we can during this time of year. It makes the phones ring. The producers of Almanac have always believed in experimentation, that almost anything is worth trying once, or twice, or even 3 times. Some of these experiments, like the opening monologue or the index file section, have become a familiar part of the show. But many of the concepts that the producers came up with over the years have quietly disappeared. Perhaps the ideas were ahead of their time, or too avant-garde. Or maybe they were just dumb ideas to begin with. Regardless, they've all been preserved on videotape, so now we present Almanac's Forgotten Experiments. We begin with something that was included in the very first show. We called it the data burst.
Now here's the moment that you who own VCRs with freeze frame advance have been waiting for. We're going to transmit the entire text of last Monday's Star and Tribune's Kathleen Morris story that we talked about earlier tonight. Those of you at home who don't have VCRs can shut your eyes for a few seconds.
This concept was later expanded beyond text when we introduced the art burst. This was the first of many special services that we've offered our viewers, whether they wanted them or not. At one point, we started providing complete transcripts of each show.
Where's this Pete Page guy?
Pierre Paget. Where's your French lessons?
Pierre Paget. Well, of course.
Holy crow.
Hey, tell us
remember
about
where he's from. You know.
Yes.
Tell us about.
I know nothing about
it. Is he the new coach?
I don't. It's too early to say that.
Yeah, I can't wait for the movie version. But actually, the transcripts were more popular than another innovation that seemed like a good idea at the time. Instead of calling the answering machines, viewers were invited to comment on the show in person at our own TV drive-through window. The producers thought this would be more dynamic than reading text on a screen. They were wrong.
On May 9th, 1888, over 200 dignitaries from across the United States and Canada were invited to test ride the monorail in South St. Paul. And this is what occurred on May 9th, 1888. Thank you.
Let's face it, Almanac is basically just a bunch of people sitting around talking. But the producers have always been looking for ways to spice it up, like the time we tried doing the show in front of a live audience, or when we turned the candidates for mayor of St. Paul into quiz show contestants.
How many votes does it take to override a mayor's veto? Start with Mr. Wilson. 5 of 7, correct. Pharisees got it. 5 of 7. Scheibel, Mary Jane, 5.
Ooh.
Or when we brought together a group of conservatives and made them talk about poverty while eating dinner.
See, Charles' central presumption is that poor people are, in some fundamental sense, competent, able to manage their lives rationally, if only government would get out of the way and stop interfering. I have some sympathy with that argument.
But my all-time favorite experiment was our coverage of the trial of Luther Darville. Since cameras aren't allowed in Minnesota courtrooms, the producers decided to recreate the proceedings with dramatic readings from the testimony. Apparently, something got lost in the translation.
What were your observations at that time?
Same as 1986.
That he was a good person, seemed to enjoy the young people who...
Yes. It seemed like the students liked him, and he liked the students.
Now, here's one you longtime viewers may be wondering about. For a show dedicated to all things Minnesotan, why do we always seem to be talking about Russia? Well, it all began in 1985, when the Soviet Union was still a mysterious superpower. An Almanac staff member read about a priest in Nebraska who was intercepting Soviet TV newscasts. We decided to translate and broadcast them, because, well, nobody else was.
Respected comrades, before continuing our programs, we remind you to maintain quiet in these evening hours. Please turn down your televisions, radios, and tape players so you won't bother those who are already resting.
Then we discovered Russian studies professor Nick Hayes, who turned out to be a good sport. So we gave him a video camera and put him on a plane. Over the years, Nick brought us evidence of the political and cultural transformation of the Soviet Union. And finally, believe it or not, there are some people out there who think the whole concept of Almanac is innovative and have tried to copy it. There's Almanac North, which is currently airing on Friday nights in Duluth. And for a while, there was a show in Houston that was hauntingly familiar, right down to the name.
So prepare for an evening of controversy and criticism as we look at this week gone by on Almanac.
But the spin-off that is nearest and dearest to my heart is Almanac Midweek. It was supposed to cover all those Twin Cities stories that Almanac didn't have time for.
but we discovered that there just wasn't enough going on each week to fill another whole hour.
Welcome to the wide world of precision parking. Now, here we are on the west side of the street. Looks like that car's already parked, Paul.
This is the short wheelbase U-turn into the parking place maneuver.
Oh, my!
Oh, well done. First shot, our little Colt, an excellent job.
Spectacular, but Paul, was it legal?
Let's face it, Almanac is part public policy and part theater. And much of the drama takes place each week here on the old couch. The producers try to have at least one cantankerous argument per show, one good fight. Right now, we're going to honor some of the best fights over the show's last 10 years. Perhaps the most surprising fight on the show took place back in 1986 when the Guardian Angel Street Patrol first came to Minneapolis. Police Chief Tony Boza, who usually won his Almanac fights easily, met his match in Guardian Angel leader Lisa Sliwa.
Well, my skepticism about the Guardian Angels lay in the fact that they had been here and gotten a tremendous amount of publicity and zoomed around and left and nothing ever happened.
Wait a minute. We're here setting up shop. We're ready to start recruiting tomorrow and Sunday out in front of the IDS Center at 8th and Nicollet Mall. We're not just going to come in and say, Minneapolis, you're getting a Guardian Angel chapter. It has to be at the request of local citizens. People have to feel the need because the Guardian Angels that'll be patrolling the Twin Cities are Twin Cities residents. Don't make us out to be some kind of carpetbaggers or fly-by-night operation.
In terms of sheer venom, perhaps the crankiest fight in the program's history involved a 1987 media squabble. At issue was a viewer survey sponsored by KARE. The combatants were Tom Kirby from CARE and Ron Hanberg, then at WCCO.
But your perception of research is absurd.
Listen,
You're
I've been in the business for 20 years, and I know what research is.
On a perch of pomposity.
Why don't you get some research professionals to endorse this study as a research study?
Are you saying he's not a professional?
He sold his soul.
He's been in this business for more than a decade, sir, and he has a national reputation.
And I don't think your company has a conscience. I don't think your station has an ethical bone in its body to do this.
But let's face it, the best Almanac fights have been political spats. Here's one of my favorites, a primary debate between Jerry Sikorsky and challenger Tad Jude.
You are the one who's playing games with the abortion issue. You know it, and you are trying to divert attention from bad checks and blaming other people for your problems, and you have a career of doing that. And you'll be held accountable September 15th.
Tad, your underwear is a little loose tonight, or a little tight tonight. I think...
Well, Jerry, that's what you're thinking about. You said that on Barbara Carlson this morning. You're thinking about that, and it doesn't make sense for a congressman to have his head thinking about that.
Even though underwear was mentioned, that wasn't the strangest political fight in Almanac history. This one was. The producers thought it would be interesting to provide a forum to the minor candidates for governor. Here's some of what happened when Bea Mooney, she's the one in the nurse's uniform, Kent Hirschbach, and Mary Jane Rackner joined me on the couch.
Now, at the same time that the American population is screaming that they don't like what's going on with the funding,
they don't want so much money spent on the campaigns.
They're going to eliminate me on the basis that I can't
Why doesn't the St. Paul newspaper get the people out to vote? Why doesn't the Minneapolis paper get the people out to vote? I'm disgusted with the media. I'm disgusted with the League of Women Voters.
What do you think of the other candidates running?
I would like to prove that there's an inverse relationship between the amount of money that you spend on a campaign and the number of votes that you get.
She went to Reykjavik and tried to tell
Mary Jane.
President Reagan what to do.
Come on, Mary Jane.
So I'm running a next to nothing campaign.
But by far the most important fight of that campaign came on the eve of the election when Senate candidates Paul Wellstone and Rudy Boschwitz agreed to sit on the couch and talk about their increasingly nasty campaign. It was a fight that found me caught in the middle.
Let me tell you what's rank hypocrisy. What's rank hypocrisy is when you run the most negative ads, no basis of truth. Excuse me, let me finish
negative
this.
ads for 10 or 12 weeks.
Let me finish
Then I came back and ran some ads to describe you, to point out what your philosophy was. I think that your philosophy is for bigger and bigger government. That's not my philosophy.
We can debate philosophy, but what you don't do is you don't run an ad which is so untruthful You ran an ad which said that I want to eliminate Medicare. You ran an ad.
That said little children weren't getting any representation because they couldn't write.
Senator. You ran an ad which said that I did. That's right. I think I was speaking, Eric.
Well,
you ran an ad which said that I did.
I think you made. Let me ask a question.
Put this back into order here, Eric.
Well, and it's a full-time job tonight.
As out of control as that fight got, we think the all-time winner in the category of most people talking at once happened last winter. The topic, dry cask storage at Prairie Island.
Before we get away from it, our viewers on the range are going, oh my God, waste disposal on the range.
That's an inflammatory and inaccurate statement. If that were true, we would be examining that in the state of Michigan today, which we are not, the state of Florida today, which we are not, the state of Virginia today, which we are not.
Minnesota was at the top of the list.
I didn't know we were going to have to.
Yes, I would like to.
The continued warm weather and lack of snow forced the cancellation of this weekend's scheduled Mora Vasilopet. Sorry, Finn. The continued warm weather and lack of snow forced the cancellation of this weekend's scheduled Mora Vasilopet cross-country ski race. Vasilopet. We'll talk some more about the weather in a few minutes. Thank you, Eric.
Talk? No, absolutely not. But we're having a party and we're having a great time. In just a few moments, we are going to have that political panel back to take a look at the past 10 years of political history. And we will formally introduce you to the new co-host for Almanac. But it is time to raise a little money for the PBS station. So we'll take a break and we'll see you soon. Come on, everybody, let's party.
Over the years, they've had a lot of fun on Almanac, but they've also had a lot of lively discussions. And I don't know where else in the Twin Cities that you can actually tune in to a debate every single week. And it's not always about the same thing either.
And it's not just kind of superfluous mind candy.
No, it's substance. There are issues that need to be talked about, especially during the elections. I find it very helpful to tune into Almanac and find out what the candidates are actually saying, and not little sound bites that they want to put forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we know that you believe the same thing. We know that you tune into Almanac on a regular basis. We know that a lot of you are already members, but we also know that a lot of you are not. Now is the time. No more procrastinating, no more excuses. You need to go to the phone right now and make a pledge of financial support, because as we said in the last break, times are tough for us, and it looks like federal dollars may be disappearing and certainly shrinking.
Things are going to be changing in the next 5, 10 years even, and we really do need your support. Even if things didn't change, we have expenses that we need to do every day. There are programming. The programming costs money. The programs that you watch, it costs money to produce Almanac and to hire the people to produce Almanac. All these things cost money, and it doesn't come from government spending. It comes mostly from our members.
And it's important programming. It's a programming that you depend upon. Call right now and make that pledge of financial support. $66, the $126 level. We'll talk about thank you gifts in just a moment, but right now, here's Chuck.
Thanks, Ron. You know, it's party time here tonight in the studio, so let's play a little game. So when you hear names like these, Bill Moyers, John Bradshaw, William F. Buckley, Robert McNeil, Jim Lair, what comes to mind? Public television, Channel 2, right? Those names represent some of the deepest thinkers in America today. And we don't expect you to agree with everything they say, but we do think that it's important that we bring their thoughts to you. When you're listening, you're thinking on important issues. If you believe that such a service is important and worthwhile to you, I hope that you provide us with something that's important, in fact, necessary to us, and that's your membership dollars. It's a two-way street. We can't bring the programs you want if we don't have the money to purchase or produce them. So the bottom line is, without your pledge support, we may never know what these deep thinkers are really thinking.
I feel very lucky living in this great community, having a wonderful family and outstanding friends and neighbors. I'm also lucky to have been involved with Channel 2 for so long, as a volunteer, a part-time employee, and now as a member of the board of directors and a member of the Channel 2 Studio Society. Every member is valued at Channel 2, and that means if you join at the $66 level, then we certainly appreciate your support, and we'll even send you a thank you gift. But if you are fortunate enough to be able to pledge $1,000 or more, I encourage you to do so and become a member of the Channel 2 Studio Society. As a member of the Studio Society, you will receive invitations to special events and a chance to meet some of the celebrities and behind-the-scenes artists that make KTCA so special. But more than that, you will have done your share to ensure the quality of television you've come to expect from Channel 2. Please call now, make your pledge, and if you can, join the Channel 2 Studio Society. Thank you.
The world we live in is complex and often baffling. Daily events sometimes only muddy the waters. Public television, however, is there to clarify what's happening by digging deep beneath the surface of the news. For example, Robin McNeil and Jim Lehrer take a full hour to examine only a few important stories. They present the opposing arguments so that you can judge the merits of different points of view. Well, and then there's Frontline, the only regularly scheduled documentary series on television that takes you beyond the headlines to investigate a single issue. KTCA's Almanac looks into the timely issues and events that concern you. From Minneapolis to Moscow, from Wall Street to your street. On public television, the difference is depth. If that's your kind of television, help keep it going. Become a member. Call right now.
I don't know how many times I've been out in a social setting, kind of like the party going on next door, and people talk about, you know, what they do for a living, and I say, well, gee, I'm a producer at Channel 2, and, oh, really? I love Channel 2. It's my favorite station. It's the only station I let my kids watch. They love Sesame Street, Mrs. Rogers. I don't particularly care for Barney, but my kids love them, and then I ask them if they're members, and they get all embarrassed, and they're all ashamed because, well, gee, I know I've been meaning to. Well, listen, call right now, make a pledge of financial support, so that when you and I meet, and I say I work for Channel 2, you can say, hey, I'm a member. Call right now.
If you call right now at the $126 level, we've got some wonderful premiums for you. The first of which is the Almanac's Greatest Musical Hits videotape. It's just a wonderful collection of all the musical things that have gone on over the years on Almanac. And along with the videotape, you get a lovely mug that says Channel 2 and 17 on it. And that's at the $126 level. And then at the $66 level, you get the mug, in case you like that kind of thing. And it's a beautiful mug. It's very prestigious, as we said earlier, too. It's cool, yeah, it's hip. It's neat to bring it into work. It's nice in the morning when you have coffee on Sunday mornings. Either way, please give us a call at 229-1500 at any level. And there are lots of levels. Our sponsor level is the $126 level. The producer level is $96. All the way down, if you're on a fixed income, at the $25 level. We've got the price that fits your budget. So don't be afraid to call us if I know this is a hard time of year. Christmas is coming, but you know, a great thing to do is to buy as a gift for someone that's really hard to buy for, sure, a gift membership.
That's right, and they'll get TV2 magazine for a whole year. Give us a call right now and make that pledge of financial support. We're going to see how Jan Smaby is doing, whether she's working her way through the crowd, and who she happens to have found over there. A lot of interesting folks. Jan, how's it going over there, buddy?
Thanks, Ron. I am standing here, ladies and gentlemen, with the best historian in the state of Minnesota. None other than our own, we like to say, Professor Hy Berman. Hi, it's good to have you here.
Oh, it's good to be here. This is a festive occasion.
It is. Now, Hy, you know, we talk a lot about politics, but we've had a need to put them into context, and that's what you've done for us from time to time.
Well, thank
history,
you. Yes,
history.
You know, most historians look at millennia and centuries. We deal with a decade, and our decade has been rich and full. But what we've tried to do is try to give the context of the political events, the social events, the cultural events, and history is fundamentally important for that. And I feel very privileged to, right from the start, been called in by the producers and the people in the show to help with that kind of aspect of it. Doing those vignettes was, for me, one of the most creative parts of my academic life. And then to have it put together by Brendan and myself on the two programs of Minneapolis and St. Paul, that was That was Nirvana.
Well, Professor, I just think you said it all, and you said it best. Please, ladies and gentlemen, give and give generously to your local public television station, and particularly to those of us partying here at Channel 2 for Almanac. Thank you. Ron, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Jan. You know, Hy Berman reminds me that KTCA is more than just Almanac and Wall Street Week and Washington Week. Remember, Lost Twin Cities, Minneapolis Past, St. Paul Past, the Iron Range, all the great history programs that KTCA has brought you in the recent past, and we will bring you again in the future. Lost Twin Cities 2 is in the works right now. That's what your pledge dollars are doing. It's so easy to see what your pledge dollars are doing. Great, great programming, great support for this community. That's what it's all about. But we cannot do it without your financial support right now. Our federal dollars are going to be shrinking, and that means that your dollars are absolutely vital. And I say that as seriously as I possibly can. We're having a lot of fun here, and we try not to be too foreboding, but really, public television depends on the public. You are more than 1/3 of our funding. That's not for us, that's for you. You are funding your own programs, you are funding your own services. Call right now and make that pledge of financial support. Don't forget, at the $126 level, we not only have the KTCA mug, the Channel 2, Channel 17 mug, but Almanac's greatest musical hits. Goodbye Norman Green, Don't Cry for Me Minnesota, Try to Remember There Is No November. Just a few of the hits on this really, really super 38-minute VHS cassette. What a great remembrance of Almanac, a great 10 years. And as I said before, Almanac is the most watched, the most popular, locally produced public affairs program anywhere in the country. And why do you think that is? It's because you're watching. It's because you have made it so popular. You depend on it, and it depends on your support. And not only that, it deserves your support. Call right now and support.
If you prefer, mail your pledge to KTCA 172 East 4th Street, St. Paul 55101.
It's pretty funny. I don't know if you picked up on that. They were just playing Ain't Too Proud to Beg, and we just did a pledge break. I bet we're both thinking the same thing. Why is it my job to review the big stories over the past decade? I mean, I'm the sports guy. Well, you may not believe it, but I first appeared on Almanac during the program's very first month. I was here long before the Almanac political panel made its first appearance. Love that haircut. So I feel uniquely qualified to revisit some of the, hey, don't laugh, it could have been you, to revisit some of the big stories that Almanac has covered over the past 10 years. Let's start with a mega story for both the state and for Almanac, the Hormel strike.
You know, even I remember the images of the Hormel strike. The National Guard soldiers, the striking picketers, the winter cold. These scenes took place in 1986. But the Hormel labor situation was first discussed on Almanac in April of 1985, before the ill-fated strike even began. The guests for that first discussion were union consultant Ray Rogers and P9 leader Jim Guyette.
We're a one-horse town situation, and, you know, the company dictates the rules of the game, and if you don't want to play, then they threaten the town and hold it hostage and move out. And I've lived under those conditions. I was born and raised in Austin, and I frankly think people are getting kind of tired of it.
This was the first of many meaty Hormel discussions, the juiciest of which took place in January of 1986. With the company on the verge of hiring replacement workers and breaking the union, union leader Jim Guyette and company executive Chuck Nyberg appeared together on the show. It was the first time that leadership on both sides had sat down in the same room since the troubles began.
I would suggest that Mr. Nyberg sit down, because clearly he has the authority to settle this dispute, and you're sitting down now, and that's something that we've been trying to get for a long time. And if you're willing to sit down, I think that we can be there and we can work out an agreement.
Are you suggesting it's enough for the foreign ministers, let's have a summit conference?
We've been after that for a long time.
Okay. You willing to do that?
Well, I'm willing to sit down with Jim and talk about anything at any time that he wants to talk about.
By the way, the Hormel strike was the subject of an Academy Award-winning documentary called American Dream. If you really want a thrill, rent the video. Zip into it about 15 minutes, and you will find a clip from an Almanac discussion. Jot this one down. It will surely be a future index file question. Another mega story from the 80s was controversial Scott County attorney Kathleen Morris. Her handling of sex abuse cases was the focus of hearings by a special state commission. All I remember is that the hearings went on forever, and they were on Almanac more often than I was. Morris herself appeared on the program to defend her zealous sex abuse prosecutions.
I don't apologize for that case. I think everybody did the best we could. We helped lots of children have better lives. While we didn't get convictions on everything, we helped people, and I think that's the bottom line.
The big story of 1988 was the Ken Keller East Cliff remodeling scandal. On March 11th, there were reports that Keller was about to resign. That night, he came on Almanac to defend himself one last time.
Somebody once remarked to me that any experience that doesn't kill you should enrich you and strengthen you.
Nietzsche.
Is that right? Thank you. You see, Eric, now I'm going to know who to quote from now. Shall I quote you or Nietzsche?
Quote Eric.
Okay. So I think that the focus is wrong. And you know, I talk a lot about focus, but we can spend all of our time gossiping about whether or not Ken Keller's going to resign or talk about where we're going to go.
We don't want to gossip about it. That's why we want to pin this down.
And the answer is now that I don't have an intention to resign.
Goes to show how much you can trust what someone says on this program. By the end of the weekend, Keller was gone. The Ken Keller scandal was just one of many Almanac discussions featuring controversial public figures fighting for their jobs. In 1990, Senator David Durenberger was the focus of Senate Ethics Committee hearings. Durenberger faced tough questions in Washington and in St. Paul.
Because you are a lawyer, Senator, and you ultimately are responsible for the legality of all documents that involve your personal business, are you not?
I may be a lawyer, but I'm not responsible for what a notary does. That's a notary public
Did you know that that was done?
No, I did not.
You had no knowledge that there was that backdating done?
No.
Just when we all thought the political scandals couldn't get any more bizarre, the election of 1990 arrived. The John Grunseth saga was so strange it reminded the producers of a then trendy nighttime soap opera.
I mean, how could you say that I'd have anything to do? I mean, how could you orchestrate something like that? I mean, how in your wild imagination? No. I don't know any of those people.
My former wife had to retrieve the van from Hastings because they'd been stopped for a headlight that was out, and brought them back to the house where they spent the night. And that's the only thing any of us recollect.
Just when we thought we had all recovered from that, the congressional check-kiting scandal came home to Minnesota. The day after the figures were released from Minnesota's congressmen, Jerry Sikorsky and Vin Weber came on the show to answer some tough questions.
Has resigning crossed your mind?
Well, for me, I got things that I get up every morning to do. I'm carrying the legislation on recycling for the environmental interest, and that's a several-hour-a-day item. Community right to know more. So polluting chemical companies have to tell you when they're polluting in your neighborhood.
So has resignation even entered your mind?
No, I'm doing these things.
No, you're not. How about you, Congressman Weber?
I have a one-week-old baby. I think of resigning every morning at 5 o'clock.
This fall on Almanac, candidates for governor and senator were grilled extensively. And the show's post-election coverage included the first face-to-face meeting anywhere between Senator Paul Wellstone and Senator-elect Rod Graham.
We will meet the needs of the country. I mean, when they talk about cutting Social Security or eliminating, benefits for children, immunization, education, that is never going to happen. None of that will happen. We have to meet the needs, the same as you do in your budget.
Are you saying none of that will happen, Ron?
Well, we might have to reorganize. And
no cuts in those programs?
Well, I'm not saying there's not going to be cuts, but there's going to be limitations.
Limitations, but not cuts.
Ah, the tradition of fine discourse continues.
To track down meteorologist Bruce Watson a bit ago at his home, and let's see if he's still there. Bruce Watson, are you with us? Bruce, are you there? Otherwise, the two of us are going to... Maybe he can hear us and we can't hear him, Eric.
Reminiscences of...
You are.
The dome is made of styrofoam, and it doesn't taste as good as the rest of the cake. The cake is marble, and I'm sinking here.
thought that there was a lot of history in JG's last report, just wait to see how much history is sitting on the couch tonight. We have recreated the first Almanac political panel, which made its debut on April 12th, 1985. Now, check out, ladies and gentlemen, these mugshots. Here they are then, and here they are now. DJ Leary. DJ Leary, DFL media consultant and co-author for 10 years or more of the newsletter Politics in Minnesota. Y. Spano has been his newsletter partner all that time.
And I look younger now than I did then.
You look better.
And Y is a legislative lobbyist. And here, too, and welcome back, is Chris Sanda, a Republican activist who has spent the last few years as a member of the Carlson administration. This is just great to have you all back. Thank you very, very much. It's really good to have you here.
Thank you.
TJ, let me begin with you. Given the outcome of the November 8th, 1994 elections, has all that much changed since we went on the air in 1984 when, after all, Reagan had been sort of reaffirmed as president and Congress was definitely in Republican control?
I would have said nothing changed till I saw those pictures, that tape that ran before. I used to, I thought of it in a poetic sense. I had a poem about this. When I was young and in my prime, I used to come here all the time. Now that I've got more sense, I find something else to do on Friday night, but I don't. I still come here, you know, 10 years later.
Well, the philosophy of government, I mean, has it, are we more conservative now than we were, must be, than we were 10 years ago? Or?
Well, there's a pretty big difference between this crowd and what Reagan did. I mean, Reagan promised to do certain things, but not much got done. The government at the end of the period was about the same size as it was at the beginning. The debt went up a lot because they spent too, but basically they didn't change that much. These folks are talking about serious, no kidding change, like sending everybody to the orphanage, including Chris.
I just want to ask Chris, you know, Chris, one of the reasons you were always one of my favorite political panelists was because though you are a staunch Republican,
yes,
you were willing to, you know, criticize your own party and some of your fellow Republicans. So now I want to hear the truth, Chris. How do you feel about the election results of '94?
Well, you know, for a long time I had to go around Minnesota and I introduced myself as one of the last living Republicans. But now I found that I'm no longer extinct. At least outside of Minnesota, there are a lot more Republicans. But, you know, this is just such a wonderful opportunity to see everyone again. And I knew they were going to show pictures with all of us with black hair. I just knew it.
Me too.
I never had black hair.
Okay, now, 1990 was the big year. I mean, in Almanac's great illustrious history, it got very crazy in 1990. Yes. Have we recovered from that one yet, or does that seem to have changed, like the tenor of things, the reporting of it, how careful candidates are? I mean, a lot of that seemed like a watershed in Minnesota politics. True, not? Am I overstating it, Wyman?
I don't think it was. I mean, I honestly think they were aberrations that don't play out this way. Sure, times have changed in terms of what we do with candidates, and the willingness to look at certain things has increased. But you know what? Grunseth turned it around in this state, and you can, I think this year, if you're a candidate, you can have more shade in your past than at almost any time in the past 10 years, and the media in this town are going to be very, very careful about going after you.
EJ?
I'll tell you, the interesting thing is if you look not at 90 alone, if you look at 78, when the last time you wiped out the DFL in Minnesota, and you really took them out that time. I mean, there wasn't a majority left. And I saw all these young people around the university and that who were so sad that the Liberals lost in Minnesota somewhat and around the rest of the country. And if you remind them historically, you know, we lived through Reagan, we lived through Nixon. God, we can live through this, you know, and we'll do that. And I think that we've been around long enough. We've seen the pendulum swing back and forth, that it always changes. So that I think that what happened in 1994 served as a very good wake-up lesson. And I think it's going to be very interesting in the 95 session to see what lessons they did learn, especially with the DFL still in charge and almost being an endangered species politically on the nationals.
Well, I think what we have to admit, though, is what's happening to President Clinton at the national level. He is under siege. I think this morning I was at a meeting where the governor used the word surrender mentality is what's happening in Washington. I thought that was kind of an interesting phrase. Now look what happened in Clinton's cabinet today. The taxpayers have stood up and said, I ain't going to take it no more. And I think Minnesotans have heard it. The Minnesota legislature certainly has heard it. Even though the DFL is in charge of the legislature, the mandate that, that President Clinton is looking at now, I think has to be enough to scare the life out of the DFL, right? And take a look at this North Dakota tie. He has his sunflower
All
tie.
my friends up in the valley see those sunflowers.
I tell you what, we had two men that come to my mind over the past 10 years who were frequent guests or topics of discussion, particularly among you political panelists over the past 10 years.
Who is the Rudies?
And, well, actually, I was thinking there certainly is Rudy Boschwitz, but I was thinking of Governor Rudy Perpich and Senator Dave Durenberger.
Yes.
And this week we see the retirement party for Senator Dave Durenberger and is taking his leave. 10 years ago, do you recall that there was anything but positive futures for Dave Durenberger? Did we have any hint of what might befall him in the coming years?
I think what was particularly surprising was that after the first 2 years of Al Quie, 78 to 80, Republicans were doing so well that nobody thought it would go back downhill again for them. And Nick Coleman was still alive at the time, and they kind of just bested him a little bit in the legislature. And by 1982, this good man, Al Quie, who had enormous years of marvelous public service to the people of the state, in private polling, his numbers were lower than Richard Nixon's had ever been. And I will tell you that in Minnesota, they showed they were really unforgiving about certain fiscal matters. And I think we're back to that again this year. So I don't know how they're going to be about personal fiscal matters in terms of Dave Durenberger. But one of the terrible regrets is that Durenberger, the stuff he added to the public policy debate, I mean, he was often one of the best Democratic votes we had in there.
That's true.
Is going to be lost in this other stuff.
I thought of Governor Perpich this week with Roger Moe down at the Conference of the Americas saying that, well, we've got to boost that international trade effort now because we have GATT and we have NAFTA. And where have we heard that before? And I think you can say the governor anticipating those international trade agreements. I mean, that set Minnesota on a pretty good road in that international trade area, fair to say?
No, I think it really is. I saw Rudy and Lola a week ago today having lunch, and we talk about different things now. It's really quite interesting. Where we used to talk politics, we talk about grandkids. So it shows you what can change in 10 years.
But one of the biggest advantages, though, probably of what Arnie Carlson has been able to bring versus Rudy Perpich. The personality of Perpich, I think, is missed. But the fiscal management of Arnie Carlson is what is needed now. And I think the best thing that's happened in the last 10 years is that shift. And what is Minnesota looking for in a gubernatorial person? And that's my view of what's happened.
Think about those governors and all the pals. And to me, one of the fascinating things that's happening now is we are more and more voting against somebody than we are voting for somebody. We voted against Rudy Perpich. We voted against Alan Quist. We voted against Rudy Boschwitz when he did the Jewish letter. We vote, you know, that's one of the frightening things to me about the way campaigns work. You don't do it on positives anymore.
No.
You do it by not having a lot of negatives. Arnie Carlson could win with a 2-day campaign or whatever it was because we were ready to vote against one of those people.
Do you consider that maybe why that may be the biggest political story of the last 10 years in terms of how we have shifted in our thinking and behavior in political campaigns, both as media as well as voters? Could that be it?
That is to me, and then there's another part to that, and that is the change of the cohort of the Democratic Party, not only here, but it's a party that's now much older, it's black, it's Jewish, and basically all of the other pieces of the party have gone away. And
yes,
now
and in Minnesota, the DFL have removed the word labor from DFL. I think labor is in search of a party that will represent its interests in Minnesota. 10 years ago, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I think that ever since 1978, the DFL has been searching for an identity of who they are after Humphrey McCarthy and Mondale. And while new leaders have come forward, they've really, I mean, it's not John Marty and it's not Ann Winnie, good people though they might be, and they haven't found that kind of dynamic leadership that always held the party together.
1996 looked like a replay of Boschwitz-Wellstone. I wonder if Jim Ramstad will be reluctant to go to the Senate with that Ways and Means Committee appointment.
I think that's a very important seat to have. I mean, that's what we call the Frenzel track, you know, so I don't know. I don't think that he'll be looking at it as hard as he might.
Let's get the Republican in here, Chris.
I predict that Jim Ramstad will be a candidate for the United States Senate, and I predict that he will beat Wellstone.
Could you have the endorsing convention for 3rd District Congress after the state Republican convention?
All things are possible.
When you're the incumbent, yes.
So he might give it put a toe in.
I would hope so. I would hope so, because I don't think that Rudy Boswich and Wellstone will play well in Minnesota. I think
again,
we're looking for a new face. We're looking for a new face.
Well, political panelists.
Well, Wellstone's going to win it anyway. It's okay.
No, it's all right.
Never.
For 10 years, sometimes wild and woolly, you've been here. We at Almanac thank you. Weiss Spano, Chris Sanda, DJ Leary. It's been a pleasure. Thank you all very much.
John, we've been here. We missed you, though.
This is
true.
Thank you.
Maureen.
Where is it? Maureen. She there?
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Jan. Now, this is the point in the show where we usually talk to you or hear from you, our viewers. And this night will be no different, but there's kind of a twist to it. Tonight, we are going to be mentioning or talking about the winners of the Almanac Most Loyal Viewer Contest. Now, first, we have to give our prize out for the runner-up, the honorable mention, and that goes to Mary and Joe Keys of Maplewood. Very loyal viewers watching every Friday night. Their parents are watching up in Hibbing. But believe it or not, here to accept the grand prize winner is a guy from Iowa, a farmer, Republican. Meet Clayton Rye, who is a member of the Austin station KSMQ.
Channel 15.
And you have a good antenna.
Yes, I have Radio Shack's finest.
Now, why does somebody from Iowa watch a Minnesota public affairs program?
Because I know a good TV show when I see one.
Yeah,
and it's a great show. You're always current. If something happens on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, you talk about it Friday night.
But what does it make a difference in Iowa?
It makes a difference to me. I've got half my relation in Minnesota. My mother was from Keister, so she was in Faribault County. I've got the probably all the Rambos in Candy-Ojai County, where my wife is from, watching tonight. So I got a lot of Minnesota in my gene pool.
Now, what's your favorite memory of Almanac?
Tonight.
This is the best show that you've seen?
This is the best.
You've got to meet who have you gotten to meet here tonight?
I got to meet Paul Wellstone, and I've gotten to meet Jan, and I got to meet Eric, and I got to meet Maureen Willenbring.
Yeah, and you actually are one of those people who knows how to pronounce Jan's name.
I can spell Jan's name.
Yes, and how did that ever happen?
I watch the show a lot.
Yeah. So any other really favorite memories, though, of any particular show?
Oh, there's been a lot of good ones. It just goes, it's a long list. You got to be real specific.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for watching, Clayton. And we'll be back next week with real viewer calls, too.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the show, where it is time to say goodnight, and for me, to say goodbye. For the past 10 years, it has been grand fun and a great honor to co-host Almanac. And I cannot leave without thanking some very special people, those that I believe are the real stars of this show. The entire crew of Almanac, past and present. The men and women you seldom see, but who make the magic of TV happen. From lighting to sound to camera to director, and so much more. I thank you. And among that crew are three people who deserve special recognition. The ever-patient and wise Jane Solinger, who has been with this show for almost its entire 10 years as an intern, an associate producer, and producer. Bill Handley, our creator, and Brendan Heenahan, our nurturer. As longtime executive producer and producer, these two men are responsible for bringing Almanac to the air through their incredible instinct for what might work, their intelligence, and their zany sense of humor. I thank them with deep affection. And of course, I thank all of our guests through these 10 years. After all, you've been the reason for this show. And thank you, Joe Summers, and the incomparable Eric Escala. No one was more fortunate than I to be able to work with two so bright and talented co-hosts who also became dear friends. But finally, and most importantly, I thank you, the viewers, for your ideas, your complaints, and your support. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We really can see you through this camera. Now, before we go tonight, I have, ladies and gentlemen, and may I have a drum roll, Vernon. I have, ladies and gentlemen, the very special honor of introducing formally to all of you the new co-host of Almanac, a woman whose journalistic skills I've admired for years and whose smarts and wit will keep Almanac alive and well for years, Ladies and gentlemen, Kathy Werzer. How does it feel, kid? Little shit, and we're thrilled to have you. So, for Catherine Mary Werzer, Joe Paul Summers, Eric Leslie Escala, and the entire crew of Almanac, this is Jan Ingrid Smaby. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
And good night.
Funding for Almanac is provided in part by the law firm of Larkin, Hoffman, Daly, and Lindgren, solving problems and creating opportunities for businesses and individuals. The St. Paul Companies, providing insurance products and services throughout the world. Health Partners. The Health Partners' mission is to improve the health of its members and its community. NSP, the energy to make things better. Padilla Spear Beardsley, providing public relations and public affairs consulting services worldwide. And by Gabbard's Furniture and Design Studio of Edina. You'll find your home at Gabbard's. Almanac is a production of KTCA TV for the stations of Minnesota Public Television.
Well, that's Almanac this week, and let's wish them another 10 years. It was a great show. Everybody had a great time, and now it's time to get down to work and give us a call here at KTCA at 229-1500 and join us at the $126 level and get a wonderful, wonderful premium. It's a videotape, the all-time greatest musical hits of Almanac, and a beautiful mug with Channel 2 and Channel 17 logos on it. That's at the 126 level, but so many people have called in and requested that, that we just have the videotape that we're going to do that too. But at the $66 level, you can get just the mug. If you don't want the videotape or you can't donate at the $126 level, call us at the $66 level for the mug. Say you don't want the mug, but you do want the videotape, well, we've accommodated you. Call us at the $96 level and you'll get the Almanac's greatest musical hits video, and you can enjoy Almanac anytime, day or night. Show it to your friends, show it at parties. It's a wonderful videotape, and we can give it to you now at the $96 level. But you do need to call us. If you use your credit card, if you write us a check, it doesn't really matter as long as you call us now and pledge. Let's go over to Chuck.
Shame, you know, some fundraisers will use shame as a tool, trying to shame you into contributing to their causes. But our attitude here at Channel 2 is really quite different. We hope to appeal to your sense of family responsibility, many families and individuals chipping in, each a little for the greater common good of the whole Twin City family. When the opportunity is right for you, we know you'll do your part. And I hope that now is the right time for you to call our volunteer operators tonight with your pledge. And thank you for sharing the responsibility.
So give us a call right now, make that pledge of financial support, 229-1500. It is absolutely vital. The party is kind of winding down next door, but the commitment continues. Public television Almanac will continue, but only with your financial support. We've had a good evening, but not a great evening. In fact, our pledge drive is a little bit down right now, and we don't like to kind of talk about the fact that we're not
quite on goal. But quite frankly, our goal is about $30,000 away from where we're supposed to be right now. Does that make any sense? I hope it does. It does to me. $30,000, we're about $30,000 behind of where we're supposed to be right now in our process, our fundraising process here. That means that your pledge dollars are even more important than ever. There's so many reasons your pledge dollars are so important, but the best reason is because you love these programs, because Almanac is important to you. Wall Street Week, Washington Week, McNeil-Lehrer NewsHour, so much great public affairs programming right here. No one, and I mean no one in the Twin Cities, no one in Wisconsin can do public television, public affairs like we can right here at Channel 2. 229-1500 is the number, or call us at the 800 number. Jan Smaby standing by for one last goodbye. Jan, how's it going?
You want to stay up here? I'm going to have to stuff this in your mouth. Well, we are back, and standing with me are two very special gentlemen in the history of Almanac. Bill Hanley on my left and Brendan Heenahan on my right, the executive producer, creators, whatever you want to call them, they're the ones who have brought you this show. But I tell you what, we've talked about the politics of Almanac, we've talked about the importance of history. We really want to talk about the crew, don't we?
Absolutely. Our studio crew, you know, you can imagine doing a show Friday night, every Friday night for 10 years. After about 2 years, you know, you'd expect them to get a little burned out. This crew has been more enthusiastic, and Jan and Joe and Jan and Eric have been really helpful in keeping everybody up. And Brendan's been very helpful, and it's been one of the real joys, just the fact that the KTCA staff has been so supportive. It's been really terrific.
Brendan, all the work that goes into a show, I'm not sure people understand it. I think they thought that maybe Joe and I or Eric and I did the bulk of the work. We didn't. We just showed up on Friday night.
Of course, I didn't do the bulk of the work either. Quite frankly, there are a lot of work. That's right. There must be someone. Well, there are a lot of good people that do the calling during the week, and the people who do all the tough calling and the research that has to go into a show like this. And it's a wonderful collaborative process. I mean, you look around here, you know that. People like working on the show, and they put a lot of work into it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, these are the two to either praise or blame, depending on your view of Almanac. But please, if you can, give and give generously to keep them employed, we could say.
We need it. Nothing else works.
And to keep Almanac on the air. Thank you so much for joining in our celebration of 10 years of Almanac tonight. And Ron, we're sending it back to you.
There are so many people who deserve thanks. Of course, the wonderful underwriters always deserve our thanks. Jan Smaby, we could not, the real personality of the program, as well as Eric Eskla, those are the people who really make it possible. Brendan Heenahan, Bill Hanley, these are the people that work on public television, work to make this program so wonderful. But it's you, the viewer, who really makes it possible. You, the person who becomes a member. Do it right now.
Public television is made up of lots of different publics, and I think all those publics should be served.
Jack Willis, President and CEO of Twin Cities Public Television, talks about public television and the community.
What we're doing now is we're building a community unit. We're going to be out on the streets. We're going to be working with people who are not normally covered or have been covered very slightly on commercial television up till now. The poor, people of color, senior citizens, the handicapped. And what we want to do is not just reflect their lives, but have an impact upon their lives.
There are experts who say good communication relies on honesty. Okay then, let's be honest. Channel 2 needs your membership dollars. Membership dollars produce or purchase the programs you see here. In fact, nearly half of KTCA's operating budget comes from folks just like you. And since we're being honest, let me tell you how much, for example, a family membership costs. 12 cents. That's right, 12 cents a day. We've tried to be as honest as we can, and now we need your help. Pick up the phone and give us a call.
Go ahead.
Who's going to speak first?
Yeah.
What I was going to say was they really make it easy here at Channel 2 for people to pledge. You can use your credit card, you can use your MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Discover, or just we'll send you a reminder. It's a lot better if you do use your credit card.
Absolutely.
Saves us a lot of money in postage and calling you to remind you. If we got your credit card, there's a lot less paperwork involved.
And you don't have to write a check, and you won't have to wait for something in the mail.
Right.
And remember that we do have to pay for printing costs and postage costs, and it may be just a few pennies, but a few pennies from you and a few pennies from your neighbor, and it all adds up, and we can use that money for much better programming. Give us a call right now and make that pledge of financial support. Or, if you prefer, you can call us right now or use the 800 number, 229-1500 if you're local. Or if you prefer, you can write into KTCA TV, 172 East 4th Street, St. Paul, Minnesota, 55101. But of course, we would prefer that you call right now and make that pledge of financial support. It is vital to the health of these programs. Wall Street Week, Washington Week in Review coming up in just a few moments. I mean, these are really the core programs of public television. These are the core of public affairs programs.
You can't find them anywhere else except on public television. And you have to believe that there's, whenever you watch any news program on a network or on a local news program, there's a certain amount of slant. And I have to believe on Channel 2 that there isn't that slant that you would find on other radio or TV stations, because we don't have the commercials and we don't have the pressure from those sponsors.
Absolutely. There's that editorial freedom that we find in public television that you will not find anywhere else. There's another reason that Wall Street Week and Washington Week in Review and a great program like McNeil Lehrer or Almanac will not make it on commercial television, and that's because the audience just isn't big enough.
That's right.
Commercial television is based on large audiences because they're trying to bring lots of people to their advertisers, and that's the whole point of rating systems.
Well, and that's the beauty of Channel 2. I think the beauty of Channel 2 is that we're not really concerned with large audiences.
No.
We try to pinpoint individual audiences, smaller groups, and that's why it's so important for you to call us and pledge, because that's how we can tell if people are if they really care about a certain kind of programming. Right. If you call us in during that programming, then we know that that's the kind of thing that you want to see more of on Channel 2.
And that's why quality lives here on public television, and it may not in other broadcast entities. I mean, I've watched commercial television, and there are a lot of programs that I enjoy, but when it really comes down to quality, when I want to watch something that's uplifting, enlightening, educational, important to me and important to my family, I turn to Channel 2. And that's why I'm a member, and that's why you should become one too.
If you prefer, mail your pledge to KTCA 172 East 4th Street, St. Paul 55101.
Tonight, meet up with Renaissance man Tony Bennett live and watch what happens. Then Masterpiece Theater presents a tale of compassion and secrecy. It's Dr. Finley, tonight on Channel 2.
Next time on Masterpiece Theater.
Hello?
The arrival of a mysterious stranger reopens old wounds.
Some things are best left unanswered.
Help is all I wanted, and this person simply ignored me.
Dr. Finley on Masterpiece Theater.
Tonight at 9, here on Channel 2.
Whoa! Ho, ho, ho! Season's greetings.
Wall Street Week is brought to you locally by the full-service investment firm of Piper Jaffray and its employees, and by Deluxe Corporation, maker of Printwise, an environmentally advanced lithographic ink.
Celebrating its 25th year as America's most popular program about the economy, people, and their money, Wall Street Week with Louis Rukeyser is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the annual financial support from viewers like you. By the Travelers Insurance Companies, over 30 million Americans benefit from our insurance, financial services, and managed health care. The Travelers Insurance Companies. By MFS helping mutual fund and institutional investors achieve their financial goals since 1924. And by Prudential Securities, with more than 5,600 financial advisors nationwide. Prudential Securities can help you invest your money wisely. Produced Friday, December 9. Our panelists are Gail Dudak, Harvey Eisen, and Martin Zweig. Tonight's special guest is Elizabeth McKay, Chief Investment Strategist, Bear Stearns and Company.
Good evening, I'm Louis Rukeyser. This is Wall Street Week. Welcome back. Well, life may not be exactly a bowl of cherries in America this December, but there was a basket full of other fruits making the money news this week. Out in California, known also for its nuts, Orange County came up with a lemon, declaring the largest municipal bankruptcy in U.S. history, defaulting on a $110 million bond issue and contributing to a 12% fall this month in the stock of Merrill Lynch, the most exposed of the affluent county's brokers. Don't those guys know by now that it's the rich customers you have to look out for? Orange County's problems stemmed from having bet big, recklessly, and badly on interest rates, a subject on which another glass of sour citrus juice was poured this week by Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan, who gave an uncharacteristically upbeat report on the economy's continuing strength, which means perversely that he plans still more tart squeezes before he's through. All this was enough to make the stock market slip on a banana peel in its first effort to mount a year-end rally, with the broad NASDAQ index sprawling to its lowest close in more than 4 months.